Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Hey, this is Matt Breckwald. Thank you so much for being here with us for episode number 781. Well, today we are going out to Connecticut, and we are going to talk about raising fish, both tilapia and trout. And some interesting stuff comes up, both about my wife's hometown in Idaho, which you'll hear and understand as you listen to the episode, and about our sponsor, Lacrosse Boots. Really fun. We'll be speaking with Cody Ogazalek, and he'll be talking to us all about working in fisheries. Let's get that started for you right now. Joining me today is Cody Ogazalek, and he is coming to us from Quinebaug Community College in Connecticut, where he is working towards a major in fisheries and aquaculture. Cody is a former chapter vice president, and he is a state proficiency winner as well as a national proficiency finalist in the category of wildlife production and management. Cody, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You bet. I have been looking forward to speaking with you. Anytime I get to speak with somebody from Connecticut, I feel this connection just because I've got this family ancestry that started in your great state hundreds of years ago, which is cool for me to go back and see sometimes. So I'm always excited to speak to somebody from Connecticut. And you know, I live out here in Idaho, and we're in dry, irrigated land with a lot of livestock and cattle that roams, you know, thousands of acres out here on public ground, and it's so much different when it comes to the Northeast. It's always fun to talk to folks who experience that as well. So, again, thanks for coming on. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Okay. Well, let's do this. I'd love to start off by just asking you a few questions about you, just so our audience can get to know who they're talking to, and then after that, we'll jump into what you've been doing. Does that sound okay?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, how old are you now?
I am 18.
Okay. Now, when you are not taking classes, when you're not at school, when you're at home, are you in a town? Are you on a farm? Are you something in the middle of those two?
I'm more of a town. It's a lot of farms compared to the area, but mostly town-wide.
So like a smaller town, but kind of in a farming area? Is that what am I envisioning that correctly?
Other way around, kind of like a farming town in a more suburban area.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. And then you're part of Connecticut. You are very close to both Rhode Island and Massachusetts in where you're located in the state, right?
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. Well, it's funny. You go to Killingly High School, and you're in Killingly, Connecticut, and there's something about that term in Connecticut. I don't know what it is because I'm familiar with Killingsworth, which is a town my ancestors lived in, and you're in Killingly. It all sounds very violent to me, Cody. Is it violent in Connecticut?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, let's do this. How long have you been part of the FFA?
Since my freshman year of high school.
Okay. So why did you join? What made you want to be an FFA member?
Through 8th grade, we end up taking tours through all the different high schools that we can go to. And I took a tour through the Killingly Ag Center, and they had a whole bunch of big fish tanks, and I was all about it.
Okay.
I really love fish, though.
Okay, cool. Did you have fish prior to, had you been having aquariums and fish at your home prior to this tour?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so This had been something that you had been doing?
Yes, for sure.
Now, you said you got to tour the different high schools, so that would be different than what I'm used to out here in Idaho, where, like, my daughter, who will start high school next year, she's in one school district. They've got one high school, and that is where she goes. With you, did you have a selection of high schools you could choose from?
Yeah, I ended up having about 4 or 5 options to choose from. Some of the area schools have even more than that.
Okay. So tell me how that works. Are they all in the same school district, and each high school offers like a different course of study or something like that? How come you have such a selection?
We live in a very close area of the state. There's a lot of towns very close.
Okay.
And there's just so many high schools. So we had a technical school that you could go to. Killingly was good for their VOAG program. So they all have their perks, but for the most part, they're all general studies.
Okay. And are they all in the same district, or are these all different school districts?
No, they're all in different school districts.
Okay.
There's maybe like one or two per district.
Okay. So basically what you were doing is you were going to do like if you chose a different high school outside of your district, were you going to apply for permission to go there, like some sort of an intra-district transfer or something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it would be.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. That is not something that has ever occurred to my wife or I to do for our daughter.
Oh, yeah.
To have her go around and look at different high schools and go, which one suits you the best? When you were doing that, was going to high school with the students that you had gone to grammar school with, or elementary school and middle school? Was that something that was a worry for you, or were you totally willing to choose a high school where all of your friends would not be going to for the course of study?
For me, it wasn't really an issue. I mean, I would have missed my friends, but for the most part, I was so excited to join ag that it kind of outweighed it.
Okay. Now, that's interesting, too. So you said you were so excited to join ag. Was it the aquariums and the fish that you saw that made you excited to join that, or were you already kind of gearing yourself towards agriculture before you saw that?
Oh, no, it was definitely the fish and seeing all the aquariums and everything. We even considered it before.
Okay. Interesting. So now at the Killingly FFA chapter, are they doing a lot of work with aquaculture and things like that? Is that why the fish were there?
Oh, yes. We have a full-blown fish lab raising tilapia and hydroponics, aquaponics, a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Very interesting. This is something that's very foreign to me. I mean, I've interviewed students who have been involved in aquaponics and things like that and hydroponics, but for a school to have a setup like this, it's so different than what I'm used to out here in the West. That's very interesting. So now, would this be common in FFA chapters and VOAG schools around your region?
Yes, it is. In Connecticut, it's a lot of urban agriculture. So a lot of the hydroponics and aquaponics is definitely growing around us.
Okay, very interesting. So it has nothing to do with your proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. It's just a course of study that is conducive to urban agriculture. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, very cool. So you were drawn in. You said, this is where I'm going to go, and obviously that has worked out for you. You spent 4 years there. You wound up as a chapter vice president. What made you join the officer team?
To be honest, I was kind of iffy about it at first. I ended up talking to one of my advisors, and she told me just to kind of go for it, test it out. I had a lot of friends in the chapter, and I loved going to all the activities, so being able to plan them kind of intrigued me.
Okay, very cool. So you said you were iffy about it at first. Were you being recruited to the officer team, or were you kind of sticking your toe in the water saying, oh, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't, and then you got a little push from your advisor? How did that part work?
I was kind of sticking my toe in the water, going back and forth, telling myself I didn't have the time, where I did have the time. I had the time all along, so it was kind of talking myself into it mostly. Okay.
Man, it just dawned on me, if I wanted to make a really bad pun, I could say, were you sticking your toe in the aquarium? But I'm not going to do that.
Oh, of course.
Oh, very cool. Well, tell us about your advisors. Did you have more than one there at Killingly?
Yes, so we have 4 full-time advisors and 1 part-time.
Okay.
So your freshman year of high school, you rotate through each one of the 4 majors.
Okay.
Plant science, aquaculture, mechanics, and animal science.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, you apply to whichever major you would like, and you are selected based on your performance and interest. So I ended up being in aquaculture and environmental science with Miss Cardinal.
Interesting. So I want to understand this. Your freshman year, you're going to take what classes and all that involve all 4 of those different majors through your ag program? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And then at the end of the year, you select your major. Do you automatically get to follow that course of study in the major that you've selected just based on the fact that you've selected it, or are there other criteria that determine whether or not you get to do that?
It's more teacher-based. You put down which ones you would like, you rank them, and then they choose based on your grades for that class, your experience, your SAE.
Okay.
There's a whole list of things that they kind of based it off of.
So what happens if you want to do aquaculture, that's where your interest lies, and they say no? I mean, is it possible they say no, you're going to do animal science, or no, you're going to do plant science?
Yes. So junior and senior year, you do have the option for what they call a seminar class, where you can take extra classes in another major, and that's more open to your choice.
Okay.
For the most part, you'll get what you want.
That is interesting. Okay, it's a whole different way of doing it that I'm familiar with, so I'm learning something here. Thanks for teaching me here, Cody. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's acknowledge those FFA advisors. Who were those people?
Ken Cardinal. Not Ken Cardinal, excuse me. Kenneth Kucher. He just retired last year.
Okay.
Courtney Cardinal. Rebecca Pond. She's the part-timer. Bonnie Kegler. She's animal science. And Bethany Knowlton. She's plant science.
Awesome. Well, thank you for mentioning them. I appreciate you acknowledging them. And Cody, really quick, I want to take a moment to acknowledge some great sponsors we've got here on the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Everybody, I want to start off talking about Powder River livestock handling equipment. I am right now right in the middle. Well, actually, I'm about halfway done with my calving season now. Just had 2 calves in the last 2 days. It's been going really well. But I did have to pull one the other day and ran the actually first calf heifer right into our Powder River squeeze chute with the help of my daughter, my aforementioned daughter, who will be an FFA member very soon, and pulled that calf, and things went very, very well. And I am just always so refreshed when I do need to run a cow or a bull or a steer or whatever it may be into a squeeze chute that I've got Powder River, because it works right every single time. I know I can minimize the stress on that animal, and I know that myself, my daughter, my wife, we're all going to stay safe working around that large livestock, and we hope that you will do the same as well. They've been a great sponsor now for a long, long time, and we sincerely hope that you're letting your local farm and ranch retailer know you'd like to see that Powder River green out in their equipment yard, so you've got the option of buying the finest livestock handling equipment available to you. Check them out at powderriver.com. And then our newest sponsor, but very, very proud to have them as a sponsor, is Lacrosse Footwear. You can find them at lacrossefootwear.com. And, of course, I always talk about the fact that we wear the Alpha Range boots around here on our farm. They're by far the most rugged neoprene-based rubber boot that I've been able to find, and I found them well before the sponsorship ever started. And I'm still going strong, whether it's summer irrigation season or winter feeding, in the mud, in the snow, in the ice, climbing fences, walking through the creek, whatever it may be. They have been holding up to it very, very well, and I've always got very comfortable, warm, and dry feet, and you will as well with any of the boots they make, but especially that Alpha Range, which we like so much. And I love bringing up Lacrosse on my FFA episodes because they are proud to support the FFA by annually sponsoring 15 scholarships along with 100 jackets as part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. So, they're supporting us here on the show. They're supporting the FFA, and we hope you'll support them by putting a pair of Lacrosse boots on your feet. You can find them at lacrossefootwear.com. And Cody, I understand that you put a pair of Lacrosse boots on your feet.
I do. I'm wearing a pair right now.
Oh, you are right now. Oh, that's cool. And you're at school right now, right?
No, I'm actually at work at the trout farm.
Oh, you're at the trout farm. My bad. So you're at work. Yes, I am. And obviously in an environment where you need a good rubber boot. For sure. How did you choose Lacrosse?
They actually give them to us. The managers have chosen them. They've had them forever, so they keep going back.
Wow. I don't know if there's a bigger... I mean, I can sit here all day long and tell everybody to buy Lacrosse, and my story is very genuine. I went on the search for the right boot before I ever came across them, and it was well after that we started the sponsorship. But for the company you work for to have chosen that, to buy that boot for all of their employees, that right there is a testimonial.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right. Well, along those same lines, I would love to speak with you about your supervised agricultural experience. So tell us what you've been doing.
Let's see. So I work for the State of Connecticut at Quinebaug Valley Trout Hatchery.
Okay.
We raise all of the trout stocked in the State of Connecticut. For the most part, they end up getting moved around the state. So this year we'll produce over 500,000 trout to be released next year. And I do everything here. I help clean, feed, any medications, anything like that.
No kidding. How did you get started doing that?
My junior year of high school, the manager, Brian Decker, contacted my advisor asking for somebody to come work on the weekends. So it worked out for me in high school. I ended up working 16 hours a weekend, and that's where it all began.
Very cool. So why did they contact you? Why were you recruited for this?
Because we had the aquaponics program in the aquaculture lab. He wanted students to start with a little bit of experience. Hiring for the weekend position, it was easier to have a teenager or somebody young that can go out of their way and have the time for that. So it all kind of worked out for all of us.
Very cool. So were you able to take what you had already been learning through your course of study there at Killingly High School and in your FFA chapter and immediately apply it to your new job at the hatchery?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
All right. Now, as you've been doing this, so have you been doing this for 2 years now? Did I understand that correctly?
Yep. About 2.5.
2.5. So what do your daily responsibilities look like?
Let's see. I feed all the fish in the hatchery. I end up cleaning some of the tanks. During different parts of the year, I end up stocking on the road. Some spawning. Anything you really need to raise a fish from egg to stockable up to brood stock.
Very interesting. Now, I'm going to ask you an off-the-wall question, but it always shocks me who knows this. Have you ever heard of Buell, Idaho before?
Yes, I have.
I knew you would have. That is hilarious to me. Okay, tell the world.
Yep.
Tell the world why you've heard of Buell, Idaho.
I'm pretty sure they're a big producer of trout.
Yeah, they are. The town motto is the trout capital of the world. So yes, they do believe they are a big producer of trout. So yep. my wife grew up in Buell. I actually got married. Well, our wedding reception was in Buell. We got married just down the road in Hagerman, which is also another big trout producing area. But my father-in-law farmed trout for many years, and there's actually a hatchery there on the place that we go to, and they've raised trout, they've raised sturgeon, but primarily it was trout for a long, long time, and there's a lot of that down there. So I knew you would have heard of it. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Now, you're talking about feeding the fish. When I've gone out and I've been able to feed the fish in the hatchery, and I guess it depends on the size of the trout, what stage of growth they're in, but we've always put the food in these feeders, and then the trout can come along and bump it, and it'll drop feed for them. Do you use the same type of thing?
Yeah, we have a whole mix of feeders. We have a few of those. We have computerized, automated feeders that go off every hour. Okay. And then we also hand feed.
Okay. Very interesting. Now, you said you're also providing medication, so is it you who is recognizing that there's a need for medication in the fish, or is this something that's given, I guess, kind of on a regular basis? I mean, tell me about that part of it.
Yeah, so as the fish get sick, you learn how to recognize those signs. Okay. Say they're rubbing on the bottom or swimming in the headwater. Okay. You pretty much report that to the manager, and they'll determine how much medication to feed, and you assist them with that. Okay. And then do you just provide it? Does it just go into the water with them, or how do you actually administer it? Yeah, all of them go into the water. So one of the treatments is actually a salt bath. So you dump in a few 100 pounds of salt into one of our culture tanks and let them sit in that for a little bit. It's not bad for them at all. Now, is this part of like the Connecticut Department of Fish and Wildlife? Do they manage this for the state? Yes, it is. Okay. We're one of 3 hatcheries. We're the largest. Okay. Now, you've gone off to college, and you ultimately believe that once you transfer to a 4-year institution, you're going to receive a degree or be pursuing a degree in fisheries and aquaculture. Is that right? Yes, it is. Okay. So do you want to return? Do you want to keep doing this line of work that you're doing currently, or do you have your eyes on something else in the future? I'm kind of at the point, I don't know for sure yet. I'd like to come back here, but I'd also like to explore around the country, maybe see what other opportunities are out there.
Very cool. Now, tell us about how this led you to your proficiency win at the state level and then being a national finalist.
Well, the advisors at Killingly, they're very good about record keeping and applying for these competitions. So they really pushed me from day one to make sure I have all my records straightened out, making sure I'm writing down every single thing that I learned. And then when it came to senior year to apply, I had everything all set in stone, and I was ready to go.
Okay, very cool. And so you won at state, and then were you on the national stage as a finalist this past fall?
Yes, I was.
Very cool. How was that for you?
It was very nerve-wracking, to be honest. At the state level, I guess other states, they have interviews. Connecticut doesn't do that. So to have the whole interview process through national finalists, that was very scary for me, but it ended up being pretty easy.
Had you been to the national convention prior to this last fall?
No, that was my first time.
Oh man! So not only did you go through the interviews, not only did you have to get on the stage in front of thousands of your peers, but this was the first time seeing the scope and kind of the size of the national convention.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like it was probably a pretty big week for you.
Oh, it was, for sure.
That is awesome. Well, congratulations. Being a national proficiency finalist is just a phenomenal accomplishment. That's really great.
Thank you.
All right, so I've got to know, you went to school at Killingly, started working with tilapia. Now you've got this job at the hatchery. You're working with trout. I mean, if you had to pick between the two, what's your favorite, tilapia or trout?
Ooh, let's see. I think trout at this point.
Okay.
Tilapia are a close second.
Okay. And then what about at home? Do you keep any fish at home still?
I think I have a betta fish. My little brothers kind of take care of it, but
okay.
I don't know. I try and stay away from it.
Okay. Is there I'm laughing at that, but then in the back of my mind I'm going, oh wait, maybe there's a legitimate reason in terms of do you want to stay away from the fish you have at home so you're not somehow transmitting disease back and forth or something like that? Yeah,
that's part of it. At the same time, I just look at fish for 8 hours a day, so when I go home, it's one of those swings.
Okay, I got that too. Okay, very interesting. Yep. So you're getting enough fish for your liking at work right now.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, so when you're working at a hatchery like that, I got two more questions for you about that. What's your favorite part of the job there? Your favorite thing to do at the hatchery?
I'd say definitely stocking.
Stocking.
I get to drive all over the state.
Oh yeah. Do you in one of those like tanker trucks where they just shoot out the back?
Yep. Pretty much.
That is awesome.
Run nets of fish.
That is cool. I got to tell you, I don't know if you'll like this or not. I really don't know. But when my wife and her sister were kids on the 4th of July in Buell, they'd bring one of those trucks into the park and they just open it up and the kids would go out and try and catch trout. They called it the trout scramble. And they just shot trout everywhere. It's probably not the nicest thing to do to a fish, but definitely some old school stuff that goes on with those fish. All right, now what's your least favorite part of working at the hatchery?
I'd say the weather.
Really? Up
in New England, it's like today it's probably 40 degrees out. Tomorrow it could be 60 degrees.
Yeah.
You have no idea how it was going to be just in the afternoon most days. So trying to adapt to that while raising fish is very stressful.
I guess that would be. Interesting stuff. All right. Well, this has been really cool, Cody. Before we hang it up, I want to ask your advice for other students out there when it comes to choosing an FFA program and finding something that you really love and just going for it. Obviously, it's led you into a job where you get to do this every day. What advice would you have for students on finding that pathway for themselves?
I would say take any opportunity that's presented to you. In the end, you won't regret it. I was very busy in ag all through high school, and I still wish I did more.
Awesome. Very good. Well, Cody, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody, and thank you to Cody for a great interview. As always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.